Mobile Suit Gundam The Witch from Mercury has wrapped not only its second season, but the entire series with its finale, episode number 24, titled May All Blessings Find Their Way to You, I'm Wishing It. Before I get into my thoughts, though, I want to hear from you guys, so head on down to the comment section below and let me know what you thought of this finale if you have seen it, and while you're there, I'd really appreciate if you could leave a like on this video and subscribe if you're a fan of anime and Japanese gaming content and want to see plenty more Gundam videos in the future. The League prepare their weapon for a second shot, and Suletta passes out from the high permit level. After waking up, she takes the remains of Ariel to Quiet Zero, where Prospera and her group have her friends held captive. Prospera asks her to reconnect Ariel to Quiet Zero to save Eri, but Suletta refuses, connecting to it herself and meeting a familiar face, Alan 4. He assists her in navigating the data storm where she's able to save her sister. The gun bits from Ariel connect to the calibarn, and Suletta, with the help of Eri, raises her permit score to 8. To prevent the League from attacking, Miorine sends out a broadcast where she announces the disbandment of the Mercury group, selling all of its assets to Earth, and revealing the League's involvement in recent attacks such as mchat and the school. In a last-ditch effort, the League continue to prime their weapon, but Suletta takes control of all 4 of the Gundams, using their power to shut down all permit in the area. Quiet Zero and the Gundams begin to disintegrate, but Suletta transfers Eri's consciousness into her matching charm. Prospera sees everyone she lost in the data storm, along with Suletta and Eri, who both forgive her actions. Miorine finds Suletta floating in space, thinking she's dead, but luckily she reawakens. The episode ends with a time skip 3 years on, where Earth seems to be thriving, and our characters all get a happy ending, including Suletta and Miorine, who are both now married. So yes, sadly this series has come to an end, and I just gotta say, thank you Sunrise for making this. Gundam Witch from Mercury has been a phenomenal series that I have absolutely loved. I loved the first core, but the second core just took it to that next level, and it's filled with characters that have become some of my favourite in anime period, such as Suletta, Guel, and I'm sure there are many more as well. It's filled with amazing characters, amazing animation, a great story, great themes, great mobile suit design. There's so much that I love about this series, and regardless of my thoughts on certain aspects of it, as a whole, I loved it. So now let's talk about this finale, and ultimately the question that everyone is thinking is, was it a satisfying ending to the series? And there's a lot of complexity to the answer to that question. In fact, I had to watch this episode twice and wait like 4 days after it coming out before I even recorded a video on it, because I just had to think about it. I had to kind of not wrap my head around it in a way where it was confusing, but just kind of get a hold of my feelings for it. And after sitting on it, pondering it, thinking about it for a few days, yeah, to me, it was a satisfying finale. It was far from perfect though, and we'll get into that. Now realistically, the problems that I and many other people will have with this finale stem from the fact that it just wasn't long enough. And I'm not just talking about the final episode, I'm talking about the series as a whole. Now people were saying it needed 50 episodes. I don't think it needed 50, I think it needed an extra core. So essentially then it's a 3-core series or a 3-season series, however they want to label it, so you have 36 episodes in total. I think another 12 episodes would have given, more than enough time to develop everything that needed to be developed. I do have more positive things and negative things to say about this finale, so let's start out with the negatives. I think first off, and this is my biggest problem with this finale and the way that it wraps up this character, is concerning Prospera. I just don't think she seemed to face any consequences. Now I get there's that whole scene where Suletta forgives her of her actions, but it doesn't change the fact that she committed a lot of war crimes. She essentially started a massive riot war on Earth. She controlled Quiet Zero and therefore killed a hell of a lot of people in those fleets of the League. Add to the fact she's just done a lot of bad shit. I mean, like transferring human consciousness into a Gundam, I don't know whether that is an illegal thing to do within this world. There's just a lot where you feel like she should have faced some sort of consequence. I'm not saying that she had to die or that she had to have lifetime imprisonment or anything like that. She just didn't face anything in the end. And like I said, I get the whole forgiveness scene with her with Suletta and, kind of being this sympathetic antagonist and, getting that, forgiveness at the end. I understand all of that, but from the perspective of someone who has done a lot of bad stuff, you feel like they should pay for that in some way. There's a lot of things that happen in this episode that aren't taken out of left field as such, because they have a little bit of setup, but not enough to make them really pack a punch. For example, Miorine selling off all assets at the Mercury group. I understand that decision. It works within the story, and it actually helps wrap up a lot of things in one fell swoop. And also it did have some setup with a conversation with Shadik a couple of episodes ago, so yes, there was setup for it there. It didn't just kind of come out of nowhere. but I don't feel like there was enough. Like, there wasn't enough time of setting that up to have like an ultimate payoff where it does feel incredibly satisfying. I don't think you really got that. And then you just have everything randomly disappearing, and I don't really get that. Quite Zero disappears, Gundams disappear because they're made of permit, but then there's so much other stuff that is made of permit as well. Why did the Gundams disappear, but not the Space Assembly League's base, which had some sort of permit link or something? Why didn't everything disappear? I don't really get that. Again, maybe I just need to rewatch it and try and fully understand like the whole ins and outs of the data storm and permit and all that kind of stuff. But looking at it from watching it twice, I don't understand why some things disappeared but others did, aside from for the sake of story. But now let's start being a bit more positive and talk about what I liked, what I loved about this finale. First off, the happy ending. I know some people wanted like a dark ending because, oh, it's Gundam, it's got to, the characters can't end off in a happy note. They have to suffer. But I thought this worked. I think a happy ending worked very well for this series because ultimately, like, the thing that really ties all of Witch from Mercury together is one generation trying to do better than the previous one. In this case, of course, it is like suletta, miorine, Guel, that generation trying to do better than their parents before them and the world that they created. So them getting a happy ending shows that yes, they succeeded in creating a better world. It works within the context of the overarching theme of this show, the thing that really binds it all together. All these characters have been through so much trauma as well. To see them get a happy ending is really satisfying, and some people could say maybe the happy ending is not built up enough. I think it is. When you look at what all these characters have been through throughout this series, whether it's Guel, who accidentally killed his father and feels the immense guilt of that, ending up as a prisoner of war, seeing people being killed on the ground on Earth, and then you've got Miorine, who also sees that and blames herself for it. You see suletta, who was kind of abandoned temporarily by everything that she knew. All these characters have been through so much trauma, so much hardship, so to see them get a happy ending, it just felt right. It felt very satisfying, and yes, maybe it was a little bit cliche and all that kind of stuff, but I don't know. I had a big smile on my face by the time the series ended. I just felt warmed inside. My heart was so full from watching that ending that I just don't have a problem with it whatsoever. Calibarn's upgrade scene as well was so hyped. Yes, it was that cliche, like Super Saiyan-esque, supersonic kind of thing where the Gundam powers up and it's got like rainbow colours on it and that, but the way that the main theme kicks in, the hype that builds up because of that moment was awesome. And I loved it. And then seeing all the other Gundams ringing around each other and stuff, it was just really cool. Sometimes you just need cool moments in a finale. This had that. And despite what I just said about Prospera earlier, that scene where she sees everyone from the Vanadis incident, that was a fantastic scene. And the fact that it, so heavily ties in all the way back to the prologue, and it just kind of wraps up that in a way. I thought it was really good, especially when she gets that forgiveness from suletta and Eri kind of appears. She finally gets to actually see Eri. While she's not like a physical version of her, there is like a physicality to it where she's able to touch her, she's able to hug her. It was a really sweet and almost heartbreaking scene in a way that, yes, you know that Prospera's done all this bad stuff, but when it's going all the way back to the prologue and all the trauma she went through, to be able to see this scene, I thought was really effective. And then right after that, you get that scene of suletta and miorine where you're supposed to think that Suletta's dead, but let's face it, we all knew that she wasn't in that moment. I love the way that they do that, where there's no sound and the animation like tells the story there. It shows miorine going through the struggles of thinking that suletta might be dead. It was a very, very effectively done scene that worked very well because of the animation. Ultimately though, what drove this finale home for me is just the final scene in the countryside where all the characters are there. Suletta is happy, she's with her mum. There's so much happiness to it, and the way that Miorine's looking on, the way that suletta turns to look at her and waves, and she's got a giant grin on her face. It's like this giant serotonin boost. I loved it. Like, that final scene was perfect, and I really couldn't have asked for anything better. I know I said that the answer to the question of was this a satisfying finale would be a very complex answer. I kind of lied, because I can put it quite simply. Was this a satisfying finale? Yes, very much so. But those were my thoughts on episode 24, the finale of Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury. Before I get out there, I'd really appreciate if you could leave a like on this video and subscribe if you're a fan of anime and Japanese gaming content. As I said, Witch from Mercury is now over. We've talked about every single episode that has aired. We still got stuff to talk about though. There's going to be rankings coming, there's going to be kind of discussion little things that I might have changed that I want to talk about. don't worry guys, the discussion is not over. Just because the series is, we're still going to have plenty more to talk about in the future, so stay tuned for that, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know exactly when all that stuff goes up. Above all else, I want to hear from you guys, so head on down to the comment section below and let me know what is your answer to the question of, was this a satisfying finale? Was it or was it not? And also, what was your favourite moment? As always, thank you so much for tuning in to mchat today, and I'll see you all in the next video.